Good evening, everybody, and welcome to What's Up, Cuz? I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, the coach himself, Lance C. Irvin. What's
Sometimes,
up, cuz? How you doing?
man, I'm doing great. Sometimes, Jay, like Pops taught me, you have to cheer for yourself. So I'm cheering for myself today, and I'm gonna get you fired up. I'm gonna get you fired up. My fault. I thought you had on Gail Sayers, but Devin Hester jersey today, as you corrected me. But that's okay though. How you feel, cuz? You doing good, man?
I'm tired. I'm actually pretty tired. I started 2021 running literally just right out the gate like an old Ben Johnson, the track star, as he got out the gate. That's how fast I've hit
So are you
2021.
are you telling me you've been exercising?
No.
Oh, my fault, my fault. My fault when you said running, I thought because I exercised. Okay, my fault. I took it the wrong way. So
Yeah, I didn't
okay.
say I was exercising out the gate. I said I was running out the gate. I've been running around like a madman doing stories all over the place. So it's been extremely busy, thankfully. Just really trying to get 2021 off to a good start. I'm definitely off and running, and whoo, I need a breather already. Can I take my first time out of the year, coach?
See, you know what? That's why you have to exercise. Like, I got a treadmill and, I get about 5-6 miles a day. Matter of fact, I'm into the HIIT training right now, Jay, the high interval intensity training. Woo, your cousin, I get mine. That's why I'm in great shape. My man Damon Stoudemire. I'm going to ask Damon Stoudemire to get on the show. You remember Damon Stoudemire?
I do.
Hey,
He played for the Toronto Raptors back in the day.
Hey man, I talked to Mighty Mouse yesterday. Mighty Mouse said he gets 10 miles a day through running, elliptical, and bike. I'm like, 10 miles, Mighty Mouse? That's not nothing. So I'm gonna get mad up to 10 too.
Oh man, well that's great. Well, I would love to have Damon on the show. So welcome to What's Up, Cuz, everybody. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, and we are doing this show in conjunction with our partners in the media, the Chicago Crusader newspaper. You can visit the Chicago Crusader at www.chicagocrusader.com. They are our partners in this endeavor, and coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to actually have this sports editor, Joseph Phillips. We're going to catch up with Joseph, and we're going to talk about all the things that are going on in the world of sports here locally in Chicago. We'll do some national stuff too, because there's definitely a lot kind of going on right now. But we entered this new year with everyone. If you made it here to 2021, congratulations, and I mean that in all seriousness. 2020,
Yes,
oh my God, 2020 was a rough year, and I don't want to start our show off, too bad going down, but we do have to recognize a good, really good friend of ours who passed away right there at the end of 2020 as we were on our break. This guy, I met him when I was a college student back in the day. But he was an assistant basketball coach at many programs. University of Illinois Chicago, DePaul under Pat Kennedy back in the day. He was over most recently. His most recent college assignment was University of Illinois Chicago. He was a head basketball coach at Hyde Park in Chicago and was the current head boys basketball coach at Chicago Vocational in Chicago, and a good friend of our family. You and him go back a long ways, and I mean he's tight with everybody in our family. We lost Coach Donnie Kirksey not too long ago here, and I mean I couldn't do it justice talking about Donnie, so I'm gonna let you talk about him a little bit. But we lost Coach Donnie a little bit over a week ago, and just kind of your thoughts on Coach Donnie, and I believe his services kind of just took place as well.
they were. I have known Donnie since I was like 10.
Mm-hmm.
So Donnie basically was like our family member. Donnie was a great person, and he was like a brother to me. And I remember talking to Donnie from time to time. He was a really good coach. He was a really good person, but he was always a person that we could count on to give us advice. Myself, Cindy, Mike, Nick, Byron, all of us. And Donnie was a straight shooter. He was a person that was always going to lend you a helping hand when you needed one, but he was also a caring person. I can honestly say that he cared about the kids that he came in contact with each and every day via through coaching at Chicago State, at UIC, some of the other stops that he had, his coaching at Hyde Park, his coaching at CVS. He's going to be missed. I used to talk to Donnie J at least if it wasn't twice a week, every other week. He used to call me. I literally live. I don't stay too far from Donnie, so he'd call
Mm-hmm.
me. Man, why don't you come over the house? I'm over here barbecuing. I'm over here doing this. Come on, I'm over here smoking a cigar. Come on, you want to come smoke a cigar with me? This. So Donnie was a good person, and he helped us. And I'm definitely going to miss Donnie. So I want to send our prayers out to his beautiful wife, Dion Kersey. I know she's having this tough, but I look up to the hills from what cometh my help. My help coming from the Lord. So shout out to Donnie Kersey. I'm gonna miss you, aka DK. Man, that was my man.
I mean, DK, he helped. Oh my God, so many players in Chicago. You can't even put a number on it. Really, just kids from all walks of life, and most of his coaching he did in the Chicago area. He also spent a couple years out in Los Angeles, I believe. And what he was doing was helping young men transition from the college to the pro level, and not necessarily just with their basketball skills, but also, you and I know there's a big transition that takes place off the court when you're going from college to the pros. And Donnie helped a lot of people with that in terms of just giving them common sense knowledge, giving them things of what they can expect on being a professional basketball player, and to just try to help these guys make that transition successfully.
You know, Donnie did work with Juwan Howard, Eddie Curry, just to name a few. But also, I think he did his best work, Jay, with the kids that he had through the high school ranks. Just having them grow up, teaching the young men, especially the young men, not that he didn't work with ladies, how to tie your tie, how you need to present yourself when you're out in public, how you carry yourself, how you answer questions. And, anybody that knows Donnie, you couldn't tell Donnie he wasn't a good dresser.
Oh,
Donnie thought he was the best dresser. Like I posted a picture of us when he was at Nick's wedding party or something like
uh-huh.
that. Donnie came in, he had on the blue sport coat, he had the blue hat to match. Donnie had Taylor suits. Donnie thought his shoe game was better than anybody out there. So, man, I mean, Donnie did his best work with our youth. And like I
Mhm.
said, he helped them grow. And that's the sign of a real man, helping the youth grow. And like I said, he never, never, ever not helped somebody that really needed help.
Without a doubt. I mean, I'll never forget one time. It was when I was announcing football over at Gately Stadium,
Hmm.
and Coach Landon Cox would come a lot of times to the games, and he'd sit up in the press box. And it just happened to be this one day, Coach Cox was there, and Donnie came too, and
Hmm.
it was kind of cold outside, and the press box was heated, and here come Donnie in his suit and his shoes, walking up, and he gets to the press box, and I was like, "Hey man, what's up? You need something?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I need to get in that booth, dog. Like it's freezing out here. What you doing?" I was like, "Hey man, this ain't basketball season, man. This for football coaches early." He said, "Jason, if you don't open this damn door, I'm gonna come through this window and knock that microphone upside your head." And so, I'm messing with him, but I let him in. I let him in, and he and Coach Cox, and everybody know Coach Cox was a jazzy dresser too. And we lost Coach Cox last year too. And here these two are in the booth. Now it's 30 degrees outside. These two in the 70-degree booth, they both wearing suits, and they in there arguing about who dressed better. I'm like, if you two don't be quiet so I can announce this game. But Donnie is gonna be missed, man. He was also a member. He was an Alpha man, member Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and he knew a lot of my family members who was Alpha, and Donnie was a good guy, man. He had stories, man, and he really cared about kids, and he would keep it real with you when he coached. He was one of them straightforward kind of coaches. So Donnie is going to be missed. I know we do have a picture of him. I just added mine in there. We can kind of put that up real quick just to show how snazzy of a Jester. There he is. There's our guy, DK. That's him. Look at him dressed, man. Only thing I don't think we have in that photo is a cigar. I know he had one.
Man, I know he had his gaiters on or whatever he had. And Donnie, when he coached the CVS, when I was over there with Nick coaching at Morgan Park, his teams, we had some wars, Jay. Like, man, his teams always played hard. State was scrappy, and that's the type person Donnie was. He was a hard worker, but that's typical DK with his watch and his bracelet. I know bracelet master wise. Oh my God.
Yeah. We gonna miss him, man. That was a real solid brother right there, man. Real solid brother. He jumped on me a lot of times with the story. Why you write that story? I'm like, Donnie, it happened. You ain't have to write it like that, though. Like, when did you become a journalist too? Oh, don't worry, I can do a lot of stuff. But Donnie, real good guy, man. We're gonna miss him. Definitely gonna miss him. So couldn't start the show without talking about our good friend Donnie Kirksey there. He will be missed. Let's move forward here just a little bit. We have coming up today on today's show, we got a good guest coming up for you. We talked a lot about historically Black colleges and universities and what it's going to take for them to kind of move up the chain in college sports. And we've got a guy who you know pretty well, and he's the head coach at North Carolina A&T, Will Jones. Will Jones is going to join us. He's going to come up at 6:30, and Coach Jones was the MEAC Coach of the Year last year. He's now got that job, and Coach Jones is going to come in. He's going to talk to us a little bit about what he got going on down there in North Click, man.
Hey, Jay, that's another one thinks he can dress to. Will become like a little brother to me. Wait till we get him on the show. I'm going to fry him. I'm gonna fry him. Will is my man, though. But Will thinks he could dress too. I'm starting to get to know Will better. Like I said, he's like a little brother to me. But that guy right there, he's a good coach too.
Yeah.
Jay.
Tell me about it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, you know, we're going to do a lot of Bears talk. Bears and Packers was yesterday. We're going to talk the NFL playoffs that we have coming up. We got a college football championship. This is going to be decided next Monday. So we're going to talk about that. And we may actually have a shorter show next week because we know the college football championship game is coming on. I think they start at 7:30. And
Hey, Jay. Now you know who I'm pulling for. And
I know.
You know who I'm pulling. Who is your cousin pulling for? You know who I'm pulling for. If he doesn't come on my show after they win the thing, I'm disowning him. Trust and believe. I
know you're going to be pulling for them Buckeyes. You're going to be pulling for them Buckeyes. And you know I can't pull for the Buckeyes. So this is going to be very interesting. Everybody knows I'm a University of Miami football fan. And I'm still mad that Ohio State got help from the referees. I'll say that. And the year, I think it was 2001, when they got us on the dude threw a penalty flag 20 minutes after the play was over. and that's how Ohio State got back in. So I can't pull for Ohio State, but I know you love them. But I'm telling you, we're going to have a good college football game.
We are. I love him because my man is the assistant coach. Now I'm a big time Michigan football. Now Michigan, that's the only time I don't pull for them is when we play in Michigan. No. But Jay, don't hate on the Ohio State University. So the ref threw a flag. See, y'all didn't have no clout then. Y'all didn't have no clout.
We had a lot of clout. I just think that I think everyone hated University of Miami just because they wasn't University of Miami.
They were the U.
We were the U, and you know everybody was like, that's a penalty. There wasn't no penalty. It wasn't pass interference. If it was, why'd you throw it when it happened? You wait 20 seconds. We out there celebrating like, oh yeah, it's a penalty. I mean, get out of here with that nonsense. And I'm a ref, and I love refs, but that one has always set bad with me. So I've blamed Ohio State ever since, and they have Maurice Claret with his cheating ass too. So.
Why does it have to be a cheater?
He was a cheater.
Why does it have to be a cheater?
Because he was. He didn't have to be. He just decided he was going to be. So what can I say? But hey, let's get our guy on because it's now 6:15. So you know what that means. You know what it's time for.
Well, who is it time for? Somebody, I hope he comes with some energy. If he doesn't have energy, if he doesn't have on nothing representing Chicago, don't let him in.
All right. You're going to tell him with this guy, but we're going to bring him on. He's a sports editor at the Chicago Crusader newspaper. He's here to tell us what he's got going on this week. Joseph Phillips, what's up, cuz?
What's up, cuz? Merry New Year to both of you guys.
Okay, cuz. I see you representing the Chicago Bears. I see you have your little orange on. Okay, I'm feeling you. Let him in there. We gonna actually talk to Joseph.
I like the hat, man. Forget I like the hat, man. The hat. Give me that profile picture, Joe.
Oh, man. 2021. This is all 2021 right here.
Man, that's nice right there, man. I like that.
Yeah. No more 22 times. Now we 2021 now. So let's.
All right. Got you. So, Joseph, what you got coming up this week in your first issue of 2021 in the Chicago Crusader?
Well, actually, the first issue of 2021 will actually talk about a Bulls win that took place yesterday as Zach LaVine exploded for his best game of the season. 39 points. I think he had, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, like 3 steals. He pretty much laid down the gauntlet. I was at the game yesterday after I left the Bears game. I went straight to United Center and watched Zach put on the show. And I'm watching the Bulls operate according to Zach's strengths, which is a question I asked Billy Donovan just about how efficient Zach is in the screen and roll. And he's starting to implement that a lot in these past 3 wins. Currently, they're 3-4. At first, they were 0-2, so that's better than 0 wins. You see what I mean? So I'm doing a story on that, and then in addition to that, I did a story on the Fighting Illini, defeating the Purdue Boilermakers, and they came through with a win. I think it was 66-58 at home. Koki Coburn had 14 points, 10 rebounds. Great game. Damon Williams, Frank Williams' son, one of the best 3-point shooters in the nation, continues to play. He added 12, and Ayo added 12. So, we're seeing good play out of the Fighting Illini. They're starting to win consistently and being the team that was predicted in the preseason. And last but not least, our Chicago Bears, going on to the playoffs. And thanks a lot for Commissioner Roger Goodell making it happen for us, for opening up a 7 playoff spot. And what better way to do it than have a charter franchise to represent in the first year of this playoff new format. So we can go out there. Hopefully we can play our best against the Saints. We could have beat Green Bay yesterday, but unfortunately that 4th and 1 made the difference in the game. I was there yesterday also. So, yeah, it wasn't a pretty sight to see Aaron Rodgers continue.
You know what? Time out, cuz. Time out. Stop coming on the show thinking I'm going to let you slip stuff in, Cousin Joe. You doing a lot of stadium dropping today. I haven't been to a game.
It has to add credibility, man. I can't be at home watching the game on TV. I got to go out and work.
Hey, so you going to games, huh? How come Jason Palmer not going? He's not stadium dropping. My fault.
Well,
I got the wrong cuz.
Jason been in every stadium in the nation. He's a referee. He ain't got a stadium drop. He just represents.
I mean, Joseph, I hear you going to the stadium, Bulls, Bears. He had.
Yeah, I mean,
he hadn't been to one stadium yet.
Joseph, he got to get out there and cover them games, man. I'm glad it's him and not me. That's why he the editor.
Right. They don't want that Rona. That's why he stayed. They said, like, Joseph, I pray for you, brother.
Right. I'm gonna read your work. I don't need to be there.
He's always been smart. He's always been smart. but
Jason said he ain't coming out that house, man.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you real quick. Can our Bears get a win? Can they get a playoff win?
I believe they can, man. Like, it's just like I said, Matt Nagy continues to put his hands on the playbook. And you continue to see the results, like if we just leave the play calling in Bill Lazor's hands and then get the defense a little break, because they pretty much tired of carrying the offense. And that's what I'm seeing from this defense. They're tired. They psychologically tired. But whether you psychologically tired or not, we need one last great performance out of y'all. If this is y'all last year of giving us that effort, that 100% effort, that strength, then go all out. I think, this is a 0-0 season for the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to attack this thing like we did in 85, 86. Man.
See, this is why I love Maya, because Maya tell her like it is. You come out here saying they psychologically tired. I tell you what, how can you be psychologically tired when you under a contract and you getting paid millions? I don't have time to hear all that.
Yeah. You don't get paid millions. You don't get paid millions to do your job, the offense job, the coach's job, the GM's job.
Hey, yes,
You know, like you don't get paid millions to do that. You get paid to do your job, and they did their job, but because they've been on the field for so much and so long, they played 2 years worth of football this season because they be on the field so much.
Time out.
I'm gonna follow up on that. I'm gonna support Joseph a little bit.
Jay, before you time out. The first drive we had the ball for about 12 minutes almost.
I agree with that. Now, I agree with that, Joseph. Now, I think yesterday the offense helped them out a lot. But I do agree with you that over the course of the season, the accumulation of plays that they've had to be out there on the field, especially during that 6-game losing streak they went on, when they were out on the field 75% of the game, I definitely think it has taken a toll on this defense later in the season. I agree with you on that. That said,
come on, talk to me.
They dropped 3 interceptions today, and there's no excuse for that. That could have definitely changed.
It's all here. It's like, Mr. Trubisky, nope. You know, like all I'm saying is this, Jason. At the end of the day, the offense is Johnny come lately. You know, it's like, oh, now you want to change. Right. You know, it's almost like you've been doing so well in the relationship. You've been faithful. You've been doing everything you told to do. And then your mate out there cheating on you, hanging out in the clubs, hanging out with all the NBA players, you know. And you're looking like, man, I'm putting in all this work and you doing this to me? And then you finally want to turn your life around to get it together at the age of 70. You know, you're looking at them like, man, you finished having fun yet? Because I can't take it no more.
I mean, I think you know, the Bears yesterday, while they lost, you know, and there's still elements of the Bears, which are going to be elements of the Bears. You know, I still think Mr. Trubisky is going to give you at least one stupid interception throw per game. He got picked off once yesterday, but it should have been twice. My man dropped the ball in the end zone, possibly even 3 times. So he in the red zone, he is terrible. There's just no other way to put it. He's not good in the red zone. I cringe when they get in the red zone and they call passing plays because he can't read the defense and because he doesn't have as much of a field to throw to because the field is shortened. You're trusting him to make a decision on reading the defense, and that's just not his strong suit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we've seen that now for enough. He's got 50 NFL games under his belt. And he's still making the same stupid mistakes when they get in the red zone. I'm sorry. And then his coach doesn't help him because their best target in the red zone is Jimmy Graham. Right. And they didn't even have him in the field. They didn't even have him on the field when they were in the red zone for half of them plays. So, you know, the Bears are still going to be the Bears. They're Lance, what you always teach me, you are what your record says you are.
You know what? I can't even I can't argue with that. I can't, but I'm going to have a but I tell you what, Montgomery has been playing. My man Cole Kmet now. He you know, so he has another option. It's not only Jimmy Graham now. I mean, he has the 2 tight end option package now. I mean, come on now.
I agree.
With that being said, now defense, offense, I don't care what it is. Like they say, stars are made in the playoffs. So we gonna see.
That's true. That's true.
Super Bowl, Super Bears. Let's go.
Like I said, though, I don't need my man to play on Saturday. And you know who I'm talking about because last time he ran all through my Bears.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say his name, but everybody on the telecast know what I'm talking about.
Right. So we're going to talk about the Bears a little bit more later in the show, too. We got a lot of time to talk about that. But, Joseph, while we got you on, let's talk a little bit about the Bulls, too. You mentioned them. They're now at 3 or 4.
Stadium dropping. Come on.
Zach LaVine is scoring like a madman. You know, we knew this team could score. What our area of concern was always their defense, their team defense, and just the overall health of the team. Just your thoughts on what you've seen from the Bulls so far in terms of how they've played in the first 7 games.
Yeah, I'm seeing growth and development from their mental aspect of the game. Just players being put in the right position, being coached well, learning how to do things based on basketball IQ. And then the most important thing, the biggest word, intangibles. You know, I know Zach LaVine's a scorer, but what Billy Donovan said he was impressed with yesterday was Zach's intangibles. and how he's doing other things other than scoring, making the right reads, playing his man full court, learning how to get over screens, not quitting on plays. He says he wants Zach to be active throughout the game, and not just with his scoring ability, but in other aspects too, using his athleticism to pretty much dominate the game. And as I said before, Zach is one of the top 5 players when it comes to screen and roll efficiency. And the more they run that offense through him, then it's going to open it up for other guys. And when you open it up for other guys, what it's going to do is going to start equaling out to wins. And one thing they need to work on right now is team defense. And I think that's next. And the way they're going to work on team defense is focusing on possessions. And right now, Donovan is taking them through sequences on how to play great possessions basketball, meaning that when you're on offense, don't turn the ball over. As I asked Kobe White yesterday, over the past 7 games, how have you worked on limiting your turnovers? And he says that he works on that every day, and you can see the improvement. He only had 4 yesterday, which was good. And then when it comes to the defensive aspect, play with integrity, stay honest, knowing when to switch, knowing when to roll, knowing when to help, knowing how to communicate, Wendell Carter Jr., all of those things. So the Bulls are trending up right now, and hopefully they can continue to build on these building blocks.
You know what? As you were stating, you went to name dropping with Billy Donovan. I'll tell you what. How do you think Billy Donovan has been able to affect Zach in his play? Do you think Billy has a better feel for Zach versus than what Jim Boylan had? Because it seemed like Billy and Zach, they're on the same page at this point. It didn't seem like Jim Boylan and Zach never got on the same page.
Well, it's called accountability, and Billy always says this. He says, "Look, the coaches can talk to you all day long. The players got to go out and do the job at the end of the day." So why Zach, he can't go into comfort zone anymore because the spotlight is on him. And this is the year of evaluation for this Bulls team. So either you're going to be in or you're out. And Donovan can't save you. You see what I mean? That's why Donovan, every time he speaks in the press conference, he speaks in the third person, sort of like Matt Nagy, like I'm not touching this. I put my players in position. I go over the plays with them, but they got to go out there and execute. That's plain and simple. And that's what accountability is right now in Chicago. He can teach you all the high IQ things in the world, but if you don't go out there and practice it and execute it, you're wasting his time.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I will say, Lance, you were right on when we talked about the NBA draft and Pat Williams. I like this rookie. I like this way to see he's developing. Joseph, you're there at the stadium. What do you see when you're watching Patrick Williams live? And what is he like to kind of interview in the press conferences?
Well, I see a young man that's very mature, but he's also passive aggressive. He don't want to step on anybody's toes because I believe there's another level inside of him, but he's respecting the guys in front of him. Mm-hmm. I think what AK and them want out of him is to be more aggressive on the floor, look for your shot, put the ball on the floor and attack the basket. Don't be afraid to miss, and get some more shot attempts up so that you won't be rotated out of the rotation so quickly because Thaddeus Young is returning and that's going to take some of his minutes away. But Pat is the future of this team, so he needs to be more aggressive when it comes to offensive opportunities instead of passing those shots. Gotcha. He can get to the line anytime he wants to.
I got you. And we'll put the poll question results of our last poll question up. We had asked the poll question, which is sponsored by the Chicago Crusader. We asked him about the Bulls. That was the last question we asked. What is your prediction for the Chicago Bulls this season? And the people voted, and the results were they will be improved, but missed the playoffs was 10%. They will make the playoffs 80%. That was our winner. Nobody said they'll compete for the championship, and 10% said they will be bad again. So everyone is kind of with the consensus of they're not a championship team, but we don't expect them to be horrible. And people think they're going to make the playoffs. I said I think they're going to make the playoffs too. They got off to kind of a slow start here, but we'll see what happens as we keep going. Joseph, thank you so much for checking in with us. We will see you again next week. Coming up, we've got the head coach from North Carolina A&T, Mr. Will Jones. He's coming up right after this break. Stay tuned.
See me. See me.
See me. See my dark skin and my kinky hair.
See me. Don't see past me.
Don't see through me.
See me.
See my tan skin and my curly hair.
See me.
Don't see past me.
Don't see through me.
See me.
See my face, wet with tears from years of oppression.
See my hands, weathered and worn from decades of pulling myself up through your society.
See my feet split from centuries of walking your delicate line.
See me.
See me.
See me.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Hey y'all, this is the grandfather, Tony Allen. Listen up, it's time to be first team all defense against the coronavirus. Here's a few tips. You gotta lay low, stay at home as much as possible, and please stay away from the crowds and gatherings. The more social distance from others, better for all. Even if you don't feel sick, stop the spread and play lockdown defense. Enjoy all the good Memphis restaurant food you want, but please make it takeout or delivery. If you feel sick, do not go to work or the store. And yes, I know you hear this a lot, but wash your hands. We're going to get through this, but we've got to work together like a team to make it happen. For more information on the coronavirus, go www.cdc.gov. And remember, first team all defense.
Welcome back, everybody, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, the coach, Lance C. Irvin. And, Cuz, we're going to get ready to talk some college hoops here, and we're going to bring in one of your good buddies. He is the head coach of North Carolina A&T down there in North Carolina. He was the MEAC Coach of the Year last year, and we're so happy to have him join us as we talk a little college basketball, and specifically what's going on with our HBCUs and some of their athletic programs. Head coach Will Jones joins us. Coach, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How you guys doing? Lance, what's up, baby?
Ooh, there go my guy right there. Ooh, wait, what's up, Coach Jones? How are you, sir?
Hey, man, I like what I see. I know it's going to be fun tonight talking with you guys.
Hey, Jay, Will always got a tight background. See, he got the A&T in his background. He got the A&T hat. I tell you, Will, your hat game almost better than mine. I tell you that.
Hey,
it's almost.
Hey, Will, down there when you were at Chicago, baby. You can't walk outside without a hat.
Hey, Will, I appreciate you coming on. I was telling the viewers, told Jay, man, I love getting the chance to know you. I said, Will is like a little brother to me now. And I told our audience, you swear you could dress. Was I wrong, Will? I told him that you think you like a top 5 dress out there. Am I right?
Hey, listen, man, you gotta have that style going. Corona trying to hammer my style, man, but I gotta do a little something.
Hey, Jay, Will was over there the first game of the year because all the African-American coaches had to wear towels, right? Will had his towel on. He had his Gucci belt on. He had his Cole Haans on. Oh, my fault. He didn't have his Cole Haans. He had his Gucci slip-ons on. I said, Will, what we doing tonight? Like, no, but I appreciate it, Will, man. And we appreciate you being on. But, I got to start it like this. Talk to me about coaching at a HBCU. Oftentimes, I think we as coaches think you have to go or be at a Power 5 to get a head coaching job. But your path was a little bit different. Talk to us about your path a little bit, and talk to us about how you felt. Did you think you had to be at a Power 5 to get a head coaching job or what?
I played in HBCU at South Carolina State, played for Cy Alexander, had a ton of success there. And my senior year, we went to the NCAA tournament. Coach Alexander was able to accept a job at Tennessee State in the OVC. And he hired me on his first staff there. And so we leave, the MEAC and go over to the OVC, which is an unbelievable league. You're talking about that first 2 years I was there. You're talking about the coaches in that league. Travis Ford was at Eastern Kentucky. Mick was at Murray State. I mean, it was an unbelievable league at the Dave Luce was at, Austin Peay. And even now to this day, that OVC, those coaches, it's a stepping stone job. Those guys get jobs at the highest level after they leave that stop. But, after being in that Tennessee area, I did my 2 years and I took a GA spot down in Memphis, Tennessee at Lemoyne Owens College with Smokey Gaines. And that was the best opportunity a young coach can have, because I probably was about 23 when I took the job, and when I left, I was 33. And so it was so good for me. It impacted me so early. And then, as a coach, I'm like, man, I'm looking around. I'm a competitive guy. And, I was the type of guy I wanted to know who was the GA at Tennessee, who was the GA at Kentucky, who was the GA at Vanderbilt. And I'm looking at all these guys. A lot of them were white. I'm like, well, where are the black GAs at right now? And they weren't a ton of black GAs. And so I'm like, man, I got to be the best guy that I can be right now. And so I worked camp every summer, back-to-back week, like 5 straight weeks in the summer working camp. And I met a lot of really good guys. Ash was on there, Ashley Howard, who's the head coach of LaSalle. Dustin Kearns, right now the head coach at Appalachian State. Will Wade, the head coach at LSU. Yeah. Young coaches working basketball camps, trying to figure some things out. And so I get my first job. It was at South Carolina State, D1. I was there for about 6 months, and then I took a JUCO job, one of the top JUCO jobs in the country at Northwest Florida State. So it was my first time working outside of HBCU. And so I'm meeting all the coaches in the country that come in recruiting our guys. We got top guys in the country, and I'm establishing those relationships. I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to be here for a couple of years. I'm going to be able to cross over to the other side. And so after those 2 years, I was able to cross over to Charleston Southern. So I crossed over to Charleston Southern in the Big South. Barkley Raider Ball gave me an opportunity. And so we helped that program go from the bottom of the league to the top of the league. So at the end of the second recruiting cycle, Cliff Warren calls me from Jacksonville. He says, Coach, I got a spot. Cliff's one of the top head coaches in the country at the time. He's just turned Jacksonville around. He gives me an opportunity at Jacksonville. And at that time, I think Cliff had probably been the head coach for about 8 or 9 years when I got there. One of the longest tenured head coaches in the country. All right, so we're there for 3 years. We have some good years. Then we get an athletic director switch and a president switch in the same spring, okay? And so one Friday, out of the blue, Cliff calls us and says, hey, guys, listen, I just got released. Okay, I just got released. We're going to get paid through the spring, but, everybody you guys got to look for jobs, all right? At that point was the first time in my career where I had to say, okay, what are you trying to do, all right? And now you're married, all right? How do you make this thing happen? All right, you want to be a head coach. Do you want to be a head coach? Yes. Okay, I want to be a head coach. What's the best way to get there? Okay, and so during that time, I was trying to get high major jobs, trying to get mid-major jobs. Felt like I was right on the cusp of becoming a high major assistant coach, right on the cusp. Summer before, I went to an ACE program with the NCAA, was able to get in front of some search firms, was able to get some insight about being a head coach. And I told myself, I said, you know what, man? I know I can coach. I know I can recruit.
Yeah.
I said, when I get back in, I need to be a head coach at an HBCU. That's what I need to do. I said, I'm going to give up the $250,000 from an assistant standpoint on the front end, but I'm going to get it back on the back end. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
I just went in, man. I took the job at FAMU, helped Byron Samuels for a year. And then here at North Carolina A&T, one of my former guys I worked with, South Carolina State guy, Jay Joyner, he just took over for our head coach, Alexander, at A&T. And so that following year, I came to A&T, and I said, hey, let's turn this program around. All right, let's turn the program around. And so we did. We won 3 games our first year. And we had the biggest Division I turnaround in one season. The next year, we went from 3 wins to 20 wins. And, now this is year 5 for me at A&T. And on year 4, through circumstances, okay, I was able to become the head coach at North Carolina A&T. We want to do something. We ask God. We pray for it. He never tells you how it's going to happen, okay? He never said he's going to put it on a platter for you. Sometimes he said, man, you got to go get this thing in the worst situation. Are you ready to get it done? And so, that was my path, man. And, I wouldn't change it for the world. This is my opportunity. I got to capitalize on it.
I hear you, Coach Jones. And I think, a lot of times people don't understand just the road the coaches have to take to move and work their way around. I mean, I remember when Lance first started in this, back in the late 90s. And, I couldn't keep up with my cousin because he kept moving every 2-3 years, taking another gig. I like, man, I got every college in the country's gear on because you keep changing jobs. But it's very interesting to hear your particular story. My follow-up to that is, how do you deal with kind of the situations you talk about? If a new president or new AD comes in, more likely they're going to bring in their people. That's just kind of like how the game goes a lot of times. What advice do you give for people who are looking to get into coaching and helping them understand that there's chances you're going to get fired, or there's chances you may be released, not just because of your performance, but because of some of the political reasons as well?
Yeah, you got to be good at your job. You got to be good at what you do, okay? People around you have to know your value, okay, regardless of what happens. All right, regardless if you get fired, regardless if you go to the NCAA tournament, that compliance person needs to say, man, that guy's a hard worker. That soccer coach needs to say, hey, man, Coach Jones, that dude is a team player, okay? Everybody has to know that you're good at your job, and that stuff's going to get out there. And when it gets out there, other coaches will recognize it, and hopefully you'll end up landing on your feet. That's what you have to do in this business. You can't burn bridges. You can't go into places thinking that you're better than the program or you're better than everybody else because you're coaching men's basketball. You have to be a team player, and in the end, it's going to be reciprocated for you.
Follow up to that, Coach. Obviously, this year, a lot of press, deservedly so. Not your sport, but Deion Sanders taking the head coaching job at Jackson State. How big was that for HBCUs, regardless of if it was football, baseball, tennis, to see someone like Primetime take a job at Jackson State? And do you think that has brought the conversation more to some of our more elite athletes coming to HBCUs?
Deion Sanders, our Primetime, the guy that we all grew up cheering for, is the biggest celebrity former athlete hire in any sport at any level. All right. He's got the personality. He's got the experience. He's got everything it takes to make that attention shift to where he is. He's on commercials in prime time. I mean, he is the guy. We've had some guys that, we've got guys right now. We got Juwan at Michigan. You know what I'm saying? We got Jerry Stackhouse at Vanderbilt. We've got guys that have taken these jobs, but none like him. He's able to get out in front of cameras. He's able to talk that lingo, and he's showing right now the transfer market from BCS schools. He's getting those guys' attention with his son. And also, when you take a job and you get your own to come with you, when your sons say, you know what, I'm going to play for my dad, and these kids know who his sons are, that's big. That's big too, because now they believe in the success that they can have, and I think that's big for everybody at the HBCU level.
Well, I tell you what, you know how to talk that talk. That's why I said you like a little brother to me, Will, because you know how to talk that talk, boy. I tell you. But no, Will, from an HBCU point of view, I think oftentimes when I was coming up, we never got the type of, they never tried to get us to come there. Tell me now, it seems like Howard got a big recruit out there, and I know you getting some big recruits to come. Tell me, tell me how you feel going after some of these players, because now you and I both know you have to get some players, some really good players, and you on the verge of getting some really good players. And I think for the longest time, some of the coaches really didn't come after the African American players like they should have. Some of the ones that was really good, but I sense from you, you're not scared to go after anyone.
It's all a process, Coach. And let me tell you, I didn't get a chance to work at Kansas. I didn't get a chance to work at Florida State. But my last year, when we got released from Jacksonville, I got a phone call. I was out in the community as a college coach trying to figure this thing out. And a coach called me and said, Coach, I know you're coaching at a high school right now, but Udoka Azubuike is here in the city. We need you to work him out. We need you to train him. And I said, really? So he said, yeah. So I trained Udoka every day. We became best friends. We were together every day. I trained him the summer before his last year on the circuit. He had his best circuits that he had in his 4 years out there. I went to the NBA player development camp and played his best basketball. Okay. And so I got to have that relationship with a kid that was at the highest level. Okay. And in my mind was like, you know what? This kid is just like, even though he's top 10, top 15 in the country, he's a kid just like the 999th player prospect in the country. He has the same feelings. He has the same expectations. He's just a kid. And so being able to have those relationships and have those conversations make a big deal. And so when I got to A&T, especially during this cycle, I said, you know what? I mean, this social injustice piece was good, but if this social injustice piece didn't happen, I was still going to sign the top 100 player in the country. And so I signed Duncan Powell, the number 86 player in the country, 4-star kid. He's coming to us next year. But that recruiting process started before the social injustice standpoint. A&T, the largest HBCU in the world, okay, we have some things set up that we can be successful, okay, and recruit some high-level guys. But it takes more. You got to have some things in place to make sure you can be a service to them also. You can't just ask the kids to come and you don't have anything for them, okay? They have a dream. You got to have the opportunity for them to make sure they can make their dreams happen also.
Coach Will, let me ask you this as well. Once again, we're joined by Coach Willie Jones at North Carolina A&T. Coach Jones, you mentioned earlier, Deion is able to get in front of cameras. He's able to bring attention to Jackson State and HBCUs as a whole. Do you see us the television contracts? Because that's a big thing. Do you see HBCUs here going forward in the next few years getting more television time coming into homes across America so that people can see the talent that are actually at our HBCUs in all sports as well?
I think that's the next step. One thing that I've said is, we're going to the Big South next year, and obviously the Big South is a conference that has exclusive ESPN plus ESPN3 deals. So that means the Aggies, every time we suit up, you will be able to watch them via streaming live on ESPN3. But I also, in the back of my mind, I'm saying, Notre Dame for years had this exclusive contract with a TV network that their game was on TV every year, whether they were winning or losing. Okay. And so I'm saying to myself, well, all this thing that's going on right now, it would be great to make sure that in North Carolina A&T, a Jackson State, a North Carolina A&T football, a North Carolina Central basketball, get some love and get a contract with one of those TV organizations and get Black sports back on TV. BET, come back around. Back in the day, growing up, BET had all the games on. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, over the last 20, 25 years, that's disappeared. We need to get these games. We need to get our universities back in front of these kids so they'll know that there's some other avenues out there.
Well said. Well said. Now, Will, you've been coaching with COVID. Talk to me the differences it's been with coaching with COVID this year. like, you playing back to back this year, and I don't think people know how tough it is to go out and play back to backs. Talk to me about how it is. Scheduling been different, playing back to backs and coaching with COVID.
You can't get too far ahead of yourself. You cannot get too far ahead of yourself. You can have 3 really good days. You can walk into the office and talk to your staff. Man, I really like our guys. Man, he had 2 good days of practice. You go home, you're feeling good about your team. And the next morning, first call you get is from your trainer, and he tells you, we got some bad news, coach. You can't get too far ahead of yourself. You can't let your players get too far ahead of themselves in terms of understanding the climate that we're playing in. Every practice is a blessing. Every game is a blessing. Every day that you don't have the coronavirus is a blessing, okay? So this year, the opportunity to play during this pandemic, every time you get a chance to lace them shoes up, you better be thankful that you're one of those teams, one of those guys that's able to play, okay? That's the real part of it. That's the real life part of it, okay? And then you got the basketball side of it, but we're playing back-to-backs. All right, it's something different that in college we never really had to do. But Lance, I thought about it last night. What makes it that these ADs and presidents say, you know what? I really like our teams being on campus all week and going on the weekend and playing games and coming back. What if that's the trend going forward from this 2020 pandemic? Okay, for mid school. That might be an avenue. It saves money for the athletic department. Okay. It gets the games back to back. They may say they like this model. Okay. And so it's been a real different situation that as the coach, this is what we get paid for. We got mental health with our guys. We got guys not knowing what they're doing next year. We got seniors trying to figure out. The NCAA say, hey, this year doesn't count. You got coaches who have contracts that have to feed their families with. Both have to make major decisions at the end of this season. Does a guy come back and play another year? Does a coach want a guy to come back and play for him another year? Okay? All of these things are on the table right now, and we're not talking about it in the mainstream. We're talking about wins and losses, but those conversations have to be had in the next 2 months.
And Coach, that's why one of the reasons why we want you on here, because our platform, we talk about those things. I think one of the things that HBCUs do so well is they develop the entire person. That's always been one of the reasons why I've always tried to push for even our best athletes to go to HBCUs. And, I keep it real on my show. I said, look, you can go to some of these big schools where they're going to provide you with a tutor and everything. And the person may do all your work because you're going to be leaving in 2 years and they're just trying to keep you eligible. But they don't care about your life after your athletic career ends. Whereas the HBCU, they're going to develop you as a whole person. And they do that for every student, regardless of if they're a student athlete or not. And I commend you all for the ability to do that. Talk to me about what it's like for a student who comes into a HBCU campus, for you, a student athlete, and how they're getting that entire HBCU experience. Because just alone, you're recruiting basketball players, but I know you take them to the football game so they can hear the bands play and see the girls dancing.
Man, they're not playing the band at Aggie Land. The Aggie Land don't play had no band. Jesse Jackson.
Hey, listen, Jesse talked that talk. He talked that talk. He gonna be there. He throwing his Q sign up. He letting everybody know he's an Aggie. Okay. Anytime it's an event, he's showing up with his Letterman jacket on, trying to get in. He still think he in school. But at the end of the day, I want you guys to think about this. A couple of years ago, the NBA had a lockout. And you had all these guys get together and play a couple games across the country. LeBron, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, and a lot of these games was at HBCU gyms. Okay. A lot of these guys, the high schools that they attend are black high schools in the hood. So you telling me I can play for the black high school in the hood with all my people coming to see me play, okay? And you telling me that we can't get the same attendance if you come to a HBCU? It makes no sense. It's what they've been shown. It's the biggest trick out there. You're playing for your people in the hood. You're playing at that high school that's mimicking North Carolina A&T, that's mimicking Howard University with the band, with the cheerleaders, okay? And you telling me my talent is not good enough to go over there to North Carolina A&T and put 7, 8, 10,000 in the stands every night and force the TV contract to come to A&T? That's where we are right now. Once we realize that we're controlled the product, we are the product, and we can make that happen. Once we realize that, some things will change. But they, just like Clem Haskins down there in Texas Southern, they got those guys that come out there, okay, and they went and compete, and they said, we got to have some of these guys on our team. Now, these guys are good, okay? He just can't be going down there to Texas Southern. You know what I'm saying? And so now these guys are trickling across the country, and now everybody got big TV contracts. All these big schools. You know what I mean? And so that total development, we're getting it. These guys are coming there. Nobody can educate you like your own. And that's in any culture you go to. Nobody can educate you like your own. And these kids at these HBCUs, that's why you got the Jesse Jacksons coming out of here. That's why you got the Terrence Howards coming out of here. That's why you got the Terrari Hensons coming here. All these people, that's why you got Ms. Harris, that vice president, coming out of Howard, okay? Because they're being developed and they're trending towards that leadership position for our African-American people. We need more students to really embrace that.
Just a quick follow-up to that, Will. I know one of the things that we talked about when Deion got hired, and he mentioned it as well, was the facilities, trying to get the facilities to compete with some of the larger schools. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen overnight. The infrastructure is not going to change overnight. But I think we're starting to put in that groundwork. But there in North Carolina A&T, you've got some pretty good facilities that you're working with down there. How big is getting the facilities? How big is it having a nutritionist and a meal plan for your players as well? When we talk about the entire athletic experience, not just the gym itself, how big is that? And what are some of the things that A&T, your administration, has done to help you to grow those things that you need to help with recruiting?
Jason, I'm going to be honest with you. It's the biggest trick out there in the book. We're not going from A&T to Duke. We're not going from A&T to North Carolina, from A&T to Texas. That's not the jump. All right. The jump is to compete with the Southern Conference. The jump is to compete with the Sun Belt. The jump is to compete with Conference USA. Okay. That's the jump. Okay. And at A&T, I think we're close. We're 14,000 on campus. I got an arena. All right. That sits about 10,000. And then if you get good players, the fan support are coming. Once you get the fan support, once you get the facilities to be able to compete on your level, okay, FAMU has one of the best arenas in Florida, period, point blank. Period, point blank. It was able to happen because an alumni at FAMU is now working in Congress. He was able to get that thing done for FAMU. But again, now we got to get that recruiting. Now we got to get that athletic foundation, all right, and get fans coming back to the game, supporting these athletes. And again, now you get the best player in Florida to come to A&T that everybody knows. Oh, that gym's going to be packed. It's going to be packed, okay, because that's what a product is, okay? We got to get our kids to come back, and we got to get things in place. Again, it ain't going from where we are at A&T, which I think we have a great situation to compete at the level we compete at. All right. But for me to say, hey, listen, Zion, I want you to come to North Carolina A&T because our facilities are better than North Carolina and Duke's, that ain't going to happen. Zion, coach, you know what? I visited campus. I liked everything I saw. I liked the football game. I liked the academic person I met with. I talked to Jesse Jackson on my visit at the homecoming deal. You know what? I'm coming to A&T because I'm going to make a difference. That's why Zion Williamson's coming to A&T. I got to go get John Morant myself. I got to go get John Morant. I got to go in the gym. I got to find him. I got to say, you know what? That kid's pretty good. He's being recruited at the mid-major level. I got to convince John Morant to take the visit to A&T and show him that our facilities, what we can do for him, we can do more than we can do more than Murray State can do for him at A&T. That's how we get it done at A&T.
Gotcha. Coach, we got to take a commercial break. I know we can say we're going to let you go. Can I get you for like 5 more minutes? Just a couple more things.
Will, you done got him so fired up. He was asleep when we started off the show, Will. Now I'm reading text messages like, hey, can we get him for 10 more minutes? You ask Will.
All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to come back with Coach Will. He's coming back right after this. Thanks a lot.
Compassion, noun. Sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. We're all born with it. It's in us. Don't believe me? When you hear a baby cry, something pulls at you. You want to ease that pain. You want to soothe that hurt. No one had to teach you that. It's called compassion, and it's in you. However, at some point you turned it off when it came
To me.
Me. Me.
me.
The cries of my soul have gone unheard, but today, you will hear me.
My heart has wailed a melody loud enough to shatter your ears, and you ignored me. But this week, you will hear me.
This body has beat the drums of anguish, only to be silenced. But this month, you will hear me.
This year,
This decade,
This century,
I will be heard. And
you will be the one to hear me.
and when I am finally heard,
Show compassion.
show compassion.
show compassion.
Remember, it's in you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, Coach Lance C. Irvin. And our guest tonight is the head coach at North Carolina A&T, Will Jones. And, Coach, let me ask you this. We asked what it's like coaching during COVID. What is it like recruiting during COVID, especially over the summer? You know, there were some travel basketball events that took place. Others didn't. Here in Illinois, our high school players are not even playing. They're not going to play until March. What has it done for you in terms of just recruiting?
Hey, time out, Will, before you answer that. Tell them how you stealing players from Chicago, too. Put that in your answer. I'm about to ban you from – if you sign one more player from the city, we're going to ban you from the city.
You know, I've been trying to get a player out of Chicago, Chi-Town for about 3 or 4 years. It took me 3 or 4 years to get a player, and we got Fred Cleveland, who's been really good for us. and has opened the doors to get some more guys. But I was on the grind for about 3 years trying to figure out how to get up in that thing, man. I'm telling you. But to be honest with you, COVID presented some issues in terms of by the time we got hit in February, March, with the cancellations, as a college coach, you're really priming to get out in that spring to get a head start in that next class, okay? That's what you're doing. The relationships for the previous class, you've already really started some groundwork on those relationships. So you should conversations, unofficial visits, probably some of them have been had. And then if you had a couple guys that you wanted to get on a visit late, you'd be trying to get those guys on campus right after the Final Four and trying to close out that recruiting class. For us, we had already signed a couple of kids, okay? We had some kids that we had already signed, and then COVID hit and Zoom came up, and I told our staff, I said, let's get ready because this is going to be what it is. We're not having nobody hit campus. We had an unbelievable finish to our season. We were on TV twice. I took the job. I got the head coaching job, so I used that momentum, okay, to get on. I said, listen, I want to recruit this level guys. Mm-hmm. It's all about relationships now, okay? So throw everything else out of the basket. Nobody's hitting anybody's campus. And so I told our guys, I said, let's start calling these guys systematically. Let's figure out who likes A&T, who's open to HBCUs, and let's start recruiting them as hard as we can, And our coaches did a heck of a job. We got a top 5 kid out of South Carolina. We got a top 20 kid out of Georgia. Both were recruited at the Conference USA level. And then we got Duncan Powell, who was the 87th player in the country, 4-star kid out of Texas, Dallas, Texas, to say yes. He said yes. We went through the ringer all summer with him. It was a battle. I thought Dayton was going to steal him late, but he called me one day and said, Coach, I'm coming. I'm going to release it the day before signing day. And the kid did a movie. He came out. He set up did a movie. He had a movie. He had about a 5-minute movie that he did. These kids these days on these commitment videos are unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness.
And the talent level, the software, the technology that they have with this phone right here is unbelievable. He did a movie, and we was able to get one of the top 100 players in the country, man. And that my goal, to be honest with you, my goal is to get one of those kids every recruit class.
Man, Will, you know what I was just thinking about when you was talking about coaching in the HBCUs, and there's been some good coaches, right? The one thing I think need to be advocated for is that for the low resource schools, not saying you a low resource school, but some of the HBCU schools, I'm gonna say we, because I'm involved at a low resource school. We get trapped in playing so many guarantee games. It kind of beats your record up. What's your thoughts about playing so many guarantee games? Should we have to play them? Should we not play them? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Lance, I do have a couple of thoughts. My first thought is this. You're not in the HBCU league, right? Chicago State's in the WAC, right? Mm-hmm. So WAC schools are playing guarantee games. Big South schools are playing guarantee games. Atlantic Sun schools are playing guarantee games. Let's stop making it seem like the MEAC and the SWAC are the only schools out there trying to get $250,000 to add to their budget. It's a lie. It's a lie. These schools are on bus trips too. Southern Conference teams are on bus trips too. Okay, so let's stop making it seem like these other schools aren't doing the same thing. Okay, they're doing the same thing. And at the end of the day, those schools that win championships, you look at them trying to get to the NCAA tournament, those records are similar to what the MEAC and the SWAC schools. Okay, and so you got a couple of major plus programs. Some of those programs in the MAC, some of those programs now in the Southern Conference that are buying 2 or 3 games. They're buying 2 or 3 games. And now instead of having to play another guarantee game, they're saying, you know what? Let's play 2 guarantee games and get 100. And let's turn that 100 into 2 wins by buying 2 opponents. Okay. And so that's the business side of it. But yeah, Lance, having to do that, we all are creative, trying to figure out who's going to be good and who's not going to beat us by 50. You know what I'm saying? How are we going to get to the season without the guys thinking this is college basketball? But it's a piece of the deal. And to be honest with you, you want to see what your guys will do against some of the top competition and give those guys the opportunity to get out there and play on that stage. That's a piece of it too, the development stage. We were able to get Stanford. They were stuck over here on the East Coast because of COVID.
Right.
We originally were supposed to play Duke, all right, North Carolina A&T and Duke on a Sunday on a national televised game. Duke ended up losing to Michigan State. I said, Coach K said, look, we don't need to play no more game. We need to get to that practice. So he canceled that thing, and Stanford got whiff of it. We talked, and I said, hey, listen, I know you guys want us to come to Chapel Hill to play, but why don't you bring your guys to A&T? Bring your guys to A&T and still pay us that guarantee. Give us that guarantee. They thought about it. They called us back about 2 hours later. They said, Coach, we're going to do it. And the most powerfulest thing that happened in that game, I was sitting down in the corner. Stanford's warming up. We're warming up. One of their starters walked over, a kid from New York City, sophomore. He said, Coach, I really appreciate the opportunity to come here. He said, I'm out in California. I'm out here at Stanford. I've been there for 2 years. I'm struggling culturally. But to be able to come here to North Carolina A&T, see the campus during this time really means a lot to me, Coach. And he sent me a text message, got my phone number, man, and we've been staying in contact. That was the biggest moment. We lost by 25 plus, but that moment alone for that one kid was big enough for that game.
Wow.
And I have to ask you this other question. You remember that night we had date night with the coaches?
Yes.
Y'all cheated me. You, Tavares, somebody, man. Y'all cheated me. I'm not letting none of y'all. Hey, Jay, they said your cousin and Paula came in last place. They had me with Lavelle Joy for Butler. They tried to say we came in last place. Y'all cheated me, Will.
Hey, listen, anytime you're on a team with Tavares Hardy, when you're on teams with Tavares Hardy, he's going to figure stuff out. He from Chicago. Hey, he talk about his academic side. He's a smart guy, Northeastern degree. Hey, T, if you listening to me, I know you know them Chicago streaks too.
Speaking of, Will, my last question for you. You have a couple of guys from Chicago on your team. Talk to me about what it is about Chicago guys that you said, hey, I want to get a couple of Chicago guys on my team to come play for me at A&T.
In recruiting, you start going around, and we visit so many different cities, and you start to see, what type of guys, what guys from different areas play like, and I was at Jacksonville, and FAMU had a kid, an undersized guard from Chicago. Man, he was lights out. And then a good friend of mine, Dana, that was the head coach, Dana Ford, that was the head coach at Tennessee State. He did a heck of a job of getting Chicago kids at Tennessee State. And Robert Covington was one of the kids that came out. And I said to myself, the Chicago kids seem like they know they have that toughness, but they also have the mental side of it to be able to be good players and help your program grow each year. And you don't have a ton of issues mentally, all right, with discipline. You know what I'm saying? You're still going to get that tough inner city kid, but you also going to get a kid that academically can be good too. And so I say I got to invest some time in Chicago because that's the type of player I want. I want a tough kid, but I also want a kid that's going to come in and not kill your program with just discipline all the time. So Chicago kid's been good for us.
Well, I got one last question here just before we let you go. I know we got you a little bit over here, but real quick, your school is going to be leaving the MEAC, getting ready to go to Big South. We saw Hampton do it. We're starting to see some of the HBCUs go to some of these other conferences. Everybody's kind of on the fence with that, in terms of how they feel about it, because we grew up with SWAC and MEAC. We're used to. We like that's our stuff. But we also want to grow into some of these bigger conferences. It means more resources, it's more visibility, it's a lot, you know, kind of where are you with that? Even though I know you're not responsible for those decisions are made by university presidents, but just overall, how do you think that is going to be beneficial for all HBCUs, starting to see our schools in a lot of different conferences going forward?
It has to start somewhere. Okay, it has to start somewhere. Us leaving the MEAC, a school leaving the SWAC, doesn't change who we are as an HBCU. All right, we're now infiltrating. I look at it as us infiltrating something else. Okay, we still got the MEAC and the SWAC. That schools are going to be successful. Okay, now we could potentially have, instead of 2 teams in the NCAA tournament, we can have 3. We can have 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. You know what I'm saying? And so now you're giving yourself a better chance to get some things done. We're getting in more markets. Okay, now that parent or that kid that's interested in HBCU, all right, us in Hampton come and say, hey, we want to recruit you. Tennessee State, we want to recruit you. They're not saying, oh, you're in the MEAC or the SWAC. Lack of knowledge. The MEAC and the SWAC is a Division I league too. And a lot of the leagues that's recruiting you are the same level as the MEAC and the SWAC.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You don't want to go to the MEAC and SWAC? Come play for us in the Big South. Go play for Tennessee State in the OVC. Okay? Now you got some more options out there. And I really believe for us here at A&T, I'm going to push the envelope to get some of these mid-major plus players to come play for us at A&T, and let's make this a traditional thing that we're always in the NCAA tournament. That's my goal for my program.
Well, Coach, we wish you the best of luck on that, Evan. I think that's very well said. I think sometimes, you know, our community as a whole, we can be afraid of progress. We can see progress as, oh, we selling out. Oh, you doing this? No, you progressing. You know, it's like many of our entertainers, you know, that may start out an R&B singer, and then when they cross over, people ready to throw them away. Well, don't throw them away. They're progressing. They're using their talents and their gifts, and they're moving forward. And I think that's what you all are doing. I think that's what Hampton is doing. I know we've got schools who are leaving the SWAC and the MEAC, but I think the SWAC and MEAC are still going to be able to produce quality people for our community. So I just commend you on that. And Lance and I wish you obviously the best of luck here going forward. We thank you so much for joining us here on What's Up, Cuz tonight, Coach.
What's up, Cuz? I would appreciate it. Thanks, Lance. Appreciate you guys for having me.
Okay.
Yep. All right. That's Coach Will Jones of North Carolina A&T. I think Lance is having a couple of technical issues there. It looked like he's frozen a little bit, my cousin. But wow, what a great conversation there with Coach Jones of A&T. And Maya, I know you're there in the background, and just kind of some of your thoughts, because we've talked a lot about the HBCUs and their development. And even though Lance is back there, but just kind of wanted to get some of your thoughts, kind of what Coach Will said there, Maya.
I mean, I agree. Right. I agree with a large portion of what he said, especially being a person who went to a traditional school.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had an uncle that went to Howard. I had an aunt that went to Tennessee State, which I know is not an HBCU, but it's like an HBCU. It's kind of like Chicago State. Your people made the assumption. So I definitely believe without a doubt that there's value in everything that he said. I mean, you and I, Jason, have talked about the fact that there is this conditioning that here comes the mental health person in me. I can't help myself. Because and you know what? I'll take a little ownership. I had no desire to go to HBCU because of the image that was projected. I didn't feel that the quality education wouldn't be as good. Nor did they recruit. I mean, I went to a private school, so they weren't coming looking.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Even though I will tell you this, I did know, and there's also this image, which is not necessarily fair. Like, I wasn't aware of where he coached at all. I mean, I knew there were tons of HBCUs, but it was always like, you know, with Black people, we're within our own group, we're separatist. So it's like Howard is the best, and Hampton is the best, and Clark and Morehouse, and certain schools are elevated over others. You know what I mean? And those were the ones you really talked about. But as I dove deeper into, because I have a minor in African-American history, that's just how many Black history classes I took at Iowa. I learned so much more, went to visit to schools, and I have to say, it's definitely a unique, different experience. I definitely feel that there is a greater ownership of making sure the students are successful. There's probably less of a cultural shift. So there is value there. One of the things that I want to see happen, and we're seeing it happen with Deion Sanders, which is, it's prime time, but he can bring something to the forefront, but he also has to win. But he's able to recruit. But the other thing that needs to happen, and this is where this is like a call to action for celebrities, individuals that have money, your alumni. We need to give those schools greater resources so that they don't have to play those type of games. My God, if Dre and Snoop can give all these monies to these traditional schools, who, by the way, don't need their money because their alumni are stacked. We need to give money to those schools to build up their facilities, because what attracts a lot of athletes to go is they go to these facilities and you're like, holy cow, especially if you're coming from an inner city school. And like, let's say if you could see the facilities at Iowa, you're like, wow. I mean, it's just like everything is bigger than life. They need to be able to compete on all those levels. And we have the resources within our community to help them to compete at those levels. That's just the bottom line. We need to understand that there was a huge interest in shifting to traditional schools after segregation. And we absolutely abandoned HBCUs, which for the longest time had been our lifeboats and had been great for our culture. And they became wastelands because somehow they got undervalued for what they offered than more than just being an athlete. So I think everything he said, and I'll be honest, don't be shy about feeling, part of getting people more interested is getting those games to TV. And he's right. Notre Dame has sucked forever. Just like the Cubs. And just kidding. Okay, let me stop stoking the fire with people. I still believe, and I felt like a big opportunity was missed. Jason, I think you and I talked about this. To start small. So maybe you can't start like a Big Ten network, an SEC network, ACC, all that stuff. Start small and approach programming, like, for instance, Comcast Sports, which is now NBC, is in every major city. There's a ton of Black people in Chicago that went to HBCUs. You could probably broadcast within those affiliates and target those cities where those big alumni are. Start that. And then once you build that traction and you get more people interested, then try to jump and make your own network. But I'm like, but do it in small incremental steps. The first part is just getting the exposure is the key thing.
Let me tell you a couple of things that you touched on, Maya. First of all, I have 4 brothers. We all played basketball, right? The only HBCU that called us, and we all was pretty good players. I was probably the one that people say just okay, but that's all right, though. But we all were pretty good players. The only HBCU coach that called us was Frankie Allen at Tennessee State. Nobody else even tried to. So at least I'm happy now you have people like Will reaching out. You have people like Deion Sanders reaching out. Reach out to us, because a lot of us, you only know what you know. You only know what you see. And the lack of I can't think of the word that I'm looking for right now, but they never really put it out there. So what I started doing, kind of like you were saying, the image, they always gave us the image that the HBCUs weren't good schools, except a couple of ones. How FAMU. So I used to, when I would go on the road, if I was in whatever Greensboro or whatever, I'll stop and go see Charlotte. I mean, go and see North Carolina at A&T. That's a beautiful school. I'll stop and go see FAMU. So I made it a point when I was in the cities, I went to see Hampton. Those are beautiful schools, but sometimes people don't really want to tell you. You have to see it. And I have a good friend of mine, Mike Davis, who used to coach at Indiana, who's coaching now, right? Mike Davis' point is this. He said, like you said, Mike, he says this all the time. We need to get some of us that have money. It's not about TV. He said it is, but it's not. If they give money, our facilities, give money, put them in the facilities. If you come to my locker room at Texas Southern, Mike used to say, you're going to see a little cardboard box. If you go to Duke, you see a big weight room, you see a big classroom, you see some of the stuff. He said, now, if we put the money into our facilities, put it in my locker room, put it in my gym. Now some of that stuff is offsets, because you have a nice locker room, I have a nice locker room. You have a nice gym, I have a nice gym. That's some of our mindset that we have to have now. Put the money into the facilities, like you said.
Well, and I think since the murder of George Floyd's and Breonna Taylor over the summer, we're starting to see that cultural shift. I'm really loving Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, his wife, and all the millions of dollars, and she's specifically putting them at HBCUs. I think that's enormous. You know what, Maya, and I also agree with you because, you know, first of all, you and I both agree that people can do whatever the hell they want to do with their money.
You're right. You're right.
But if there was a beef that I had with Oprah Winfrey and Bill Cosby was that they kept giving to the same black universities. Morehouse and Spelman are our gems without a doubt. You know, yeah, but we got so many other HBCUs who are struggling, who could really use that money to come up to the level of just a Morehouse and a Spelman. I think that's what Coach Jones is saying. We don't have to immediately try to make this jump to compete with North Carolina and Duke. Let's try to just incrementally, you know, work our way up the ladder here. And, you know, I was so frustrated that people just kept giving the Spelman and Morehouse. They kept giving the Sportman and Millhouse. Great schools, got family members that graduated from both of them. But we got so many HBCs out here like Fisk, like Grambling, Xavier down the wall. I mean, so many of them, Morgan State. They could use it too. And by doing that, we're developing the community as a whole.
And, you know, the other piece that I think is so key, and when he talked about the experience at the Stanford player, I'm like, I totally get that. Because the first time I really stepped on HBCU campuses, I was like, oh, this is a whole different vibe. You know, my whole little 2,000 black people at Iowa, which by enough was just enough for me to manage. But but it was just a richer, different experience. And I think what we have to understand, if we want to lead our youth back to our schools, it means we have to start to engage them young. So one of the things I think that would be incumbent about this seriously is get kids to start having college visits when they're like a sophomore in high school. Because a part of the thing is, remember, you develop like a love affair with colleges. Sometimes you'll get it from your parents, but if you don't get that from your parents, because I wasn't going to either one of the schools my parents went to, I'm like, no. No, I'm like, I want to be in a school that's so big that nobody knows who the hell I am. That was my goal, and I found it. There was 28,000 people, and I was very happy with that. But part of it is two things that are missing in building, because first of all, HBCUs are very affordable. That's the first thing. When you talk about the cost compared to other schools, you're getting a quality education. And a lot of things are happening, like STEM programs are growing, you know, all these different good things are happening, but it's on the down low. Okay, so my thing is you need to start recruiting really young and getting kids familiar with it. But then the other pipeline is just like athletes are recruited from junior colleges for sports. Why in God's name aren't most HBUs, you know, having a relationship to bring in those kids that finish 2 years? Okay, so now you're ready for a richer college experience because you've done 2 years, you've proven you could complete this. There should be a pipeline that's created. There's just so many things that could be done, but probably the issue is there's nobody leading that. Yeah, there has to be someone who orchestrates that, who says, I'm going to be the person that's going to drive people to go to HBCUs. And all they do is create that whole experience. And that's what it's going to take to generate more revenue. You get more bodies there. It's just a process that we just have to rebuild.
You know, we start off with marketing, like I think what you're talking about. And we have to stop. We have to start saying they're good schools.
Yes.
All the schools, they're good schools. Stop falling for the okie doke. I mean, education, you can learn anywhere if you have the right mindset. So let's stop falling for the okie doke. And at the end of the day, there's a school for everybody. So let's market the schools the right way. We have to put our dollars and cents behind the schools. And we have to talk about it. Like I said earlier, what you see and what you hear. Come on now. We are the brightest of the brightest. And we have to start saying that.
I agree. And my last comment on this particular topic before we go to break, you know, Deion Sanders did a YouTube kind of commercial, a recruiting commercial with him and some of his other coaches the other day. And I posted on my Facebook page. I love just the way he was talking about it. And he's flipped the whole thing. He was like, it shouldn't be about us trying to reach out to you. You know, I got 3 NFL players on my staff, a couple of Hall of Famers. You should be reaching out to me. You know, I shouldn't have to just reach out to you. You should want to reach out to me to come learn from me teaching you to get you to that next level. So I think Deion is recruiting in a whole lot of different ways. And I'll say what I did for myself was, you know, over the Christmas break, I think this is something we all can do, which is a cheap way of doing it, but it also helps them because of the licensing agreements when you buy the paraphernalia for these different schools. So did I attend Jackson State University? No, but I bought a Jackson State hoodie over the Christmas break.
I'd buy one.
Did I attend North Carolina A&T? No, but I brought North Carolina A&T hoodie over Christmas break, because I know that money is going to get back down to those schools. So I think that's one of the ways we can all do it, is just by advertising. And again, I think of the Cosby Show back in the day, and Cliff Huxtable would oftentimes just wear a Clark Atlanta sweatshirt or a Texas Southern or whatever. And that was his way to promote it. I think we all can do that wherever we live, and that would also help the HBCU. So I know we got to go to break here, but I wanted to get that comment in. We'll be right back, and we're going to chop up the Bears playoffs. We're going to talk about the Blackhawks, and God, who the heck do we have playing this year, because everybody's hurt. But we're going to go to commercial, and we're going to talk about Chicago professional sports teams here on What's Up, Cuz. Stay tuned.
With coronavirus still spreading, people at higher risk must take extra precautions. You're at higher risk if you are over 65 or if you have any serious underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, diabetes, or if your immune system is compromised for any reason. If you're at higher risk, wash your hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds. Avoid touching your face. Disinfect frequently touched objects. And wash up after being in public spaces. And when it comes to social situations, less is better. Stay 6 feet or 2 arm lengths away from other people. Better still, stay home if you can. If you're sick, please stay home and away from others. And if you think you've been exposed to the virus, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. In challenging times, the choices you make are critical. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
You see me.
You hear me.
Respect me.
Respect. Due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others.
We don't have to agree, but I deserve to be heard. I stand my ground. Respect me.
We don't have to be friends, but I deserve your civility. I stand my ground. Respect me.
You don't have to understand my culture, but I deserve to be authentically myself. I stand my ground. Respect me.
I stand in defiance of your need to make me less in order for you to feel adequate.
I stand
aware that the America that you see and love today is a result of my free labor.
I stand
knowing that the contempt you have for me was not instigated by me, but perpetuated by the fear you have of me.
I stand surviving your many attempts to emasculate me. Indeed, I thrive despite it.
I stand realizing that you take many things from me, but I will not allow you to take my respect.
I am a man.
I am a proud man.
I am a proud black man.
I am authentically, undisputedly, unapologetically a proud black man.
I am authentically, undisputedly, unapologetically a proud black man.
I am authentically, undisputably, unapologetically a proud black man.
Respect me. I have done more than enough to deserve it, and still you withhold it.
The bill is past due.
You owe me.
Respect me. Respect me.
Respect me.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin, the coach himself, Lancy Irvin, and we had our guest, Will Jones, on this week, and we talked a lot about what he's doing down there in North Carolina, A&T, and HBCUs overall. And now we want to kind of talk about our Chicago sports teams. Obviously, the big news of the day here in Chicago is the Bears lose to the Packers and still make the playoffs, Lance.
Leave my Bears alone. Leave my Bears alone. Leave my Bears alone. I'm going to say it like Joseph said. I'm not worried about the season. Now we on to the playoffs now. No, I am. That doesn't even sound like me.
Well, I agree with Joseph. I agree with Joseph, man. We thank the commissioner for creating a 7th playoff spot so that we can get in. But, you know, I mean, I'll say this. I feel it could have been worse because if the Washington football team had lost last night, the Giants were going to be in the playoffs. Right, they were like 6-10 or something, and the Giants would have actually been in the playoffs. So I really wouldn't have been able to say nothing about the Bears. But so, you know, we get trucked last night by Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers was doing his thing. The Bears will be playing the Saints in the first round on Sunday at 3:40 p.m. down in New Orleans. The Bears are playing the Saints. Just your first thoughts on the Bears making the playoff, Lance, and what do you think their chances are to beat New Orleans on Sunday?
Well, let's start right here, Jay. I made notes. Your cousin comes with notes. First of all, I'm happy we made the playoffs. I'm happy. I think it was a tale of really 3 seasons. We start off, I think we won 4 out of 5. Then we drop about 6 in a row. Then we win 4 out of whatever. So we basically, it's a tale of 2 seasons. And you're always happy when you can make it in the playoffs. I'd rather be in the playoffs than not be in the playoffs. So, you know, you're not going to say, I'm sorry for making the playoffs. We going up against the Saints now. Tough. They have the number 1 defense in the NFL. My man, Drew Brees, I'm not even going to talk about Drew Brees. But I tell you what, looking at some of them linebackers, boy, they got bodies like I do, Jay. They hit real hard, too. But the thing I liked about the Bears is that our running game is finally starting to pick up.
Sure.
I think over the last couple of weeks, we have at least established the running game, which helps the passing game. The one thing that I'm a little bit scared of, like New Orleans, top 5, and I think is stopping the rush. So if you take Montgomery away, you put Lattimore, who's a hell of a cornerback, you put him on Robinson, maybe that offsets. Now we relying on Mitch if they stop the running game to make some plays. Can he be consistent enough to make some plays for the whole 60-minute time frame? That's the thing that I'm worried about. And then you talking about, like we talked about earlier, and I'll let you have it, we put so much pressure on the defense to be huge, which I said earlier, I don't care about that. You have to be huge. But it's going to be tough. Can he do it for 60 minutes, cuz?
Well, here's the thing. Let me say this, and thanks for posting Armando's comment there, Maya. He says, I can truly say out of my 47 years of being a Chicago Bears fan, I have never experienced a roller coaster season like 2020 was. And Armando, we're right there with you. You know, they started out, they were 5-1. Then they lose 6 games, and they come back and they start beating up on a bunch of terrible teams, and we finish up 8-8. So I think the Bears are definitely what their record is. They're a mediocre team. And in 2020, mediocre is enough to get you to the playoffs in the season. So they're in the playoffs. So I will say this. You can't win it if you ain't in it. So they're in it. So they still got a chance. Am I happy that they're in it? How do I say this? My long-term goal is for the Bears to win a Super Bowl. I don't believe they currently have the coaching staff to get them to that goal. So for me, I didn't want to see them in the playoffs because I think it's a reason they're going to bring back this coaching staff, which I don't think can get you to the ultimate goal. So, but will I be yelling my brains off at the TV on Sunday? Absolutely. I'm a Bears fan. I'm wearing the jersey. I didn't bring Bagman back because we're in the playoffs. So, okay, cool. You know, I'm going to leave y'all alone. I'm really concerned, though, with the Roquan Smith injury. I think that's a big injury, and it's going to be tough without him out there. The game is going to be played in New Orleans. It's going to be indoors, and it's on that turf. and you need your speed people. And Roquan is our speed linebacker. With him out, if he's unable to play, that's going to really hurt us. And we'll see. We'll see. But they got a chance to win it because they're in the playoffs. So
exactly, Jay. And all you have to do, just get hot. Play out of your mind for a couple of days. That's it. That's it.
I agree. But here's my reason of concern. When I look at the Bears schedule, those 8 wins, if you look at the teams they beat
already,
they beat one playoff team, and that was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they beat them by 1. All the other wins basically came against teams that ain't gonna be playing this weekend.
You and I was hollering about that early during the year. One thing you kept saying was that who have they beat in the first 5 games? And I was like, I'm not apologizing for beating who we play. I'm gonna take the wins, knowing that.
And you took them.
I took them too. You take the wins, you get into the playoffs, and then you play the games. Like I said, if Mitch can be the Mitch he was a couple of weeks ago, we should be fine. Because Jay, they're gonna make him throw it now. You and I both know that. They're going to take Montgomery. If I was them, you're going to try to take Montgomery out. They're going to force us to throw. You and I both know that. You don't think they're going to make that man throw?
Oh, they are. And I think Mitch has shown, these last few games that he can be effective in the right system. But again, my thing is once he gets down there in the red zone, you need to score like 40-yard touchdowns so that you're not in the red zone, because then the play caller starts getting goofy. I think that's the first problem with it. The play caller started getting goofy in the red zone. And the second problem is you got a quarterback who can't execute in the red zone. So I think that's just a terrible combination. That's why we end up with so many field goals, to be honest. And luckily we got a kicker.
And Jay, 17 points not going to be enough.
It's not. So that's what we got going on with the Bears. We got a couple other topics we want to get to here in our last 15 minutes. Let's talk about Northwestern and what they did on New Year's Day. They were in the Outback Bowl, I believe, and they were playing against Auburn. And Northwestern comes away with a victory on New Year's Day down there in Florida. They beat Auburn, a SEC team. Northwestern had a very good football season. They made it to the Big Ten championship game where they played against Ohio State. Gave them a good game, but, Ohio State is a whole different animal. But Northwestern wins. How big is that for the Wildcats?
Anytime you could beat a team from the SEC, which most people in America says that's the best conference in football, you're doing something. And they beat them. They played. They was on all cylinders. I don't care if Auburn didn't have Gus Malzahn coaching. I don't care. You still beat Auburn. At the end of the day, you beat a team that has really been in the top half of the SEC for most of the time. There. They always was giving Gus a hard time, but I thought Gus did a really good job myself. And some of the latter years, they might have slumped off a little bit. But, man, he did a great job. His problem was Alabama. But with that being said, though, I'm happy for Northwestern. And you remember I said a couple of weeks ago, until I looked at his salary, and you said Northwestern has a lot of money. I said Fitz does a great job. I'm like, man, I don't know how he doesn't go to the SEC, get a job in the SEC. Because if I was in the SEC, Jay, like Tennessee somewhere, I'm just throwing out a name. I'm not saying they coach should be going.
Right.
But Tennessee, I will unload the truck because he has a proven track record. That's probably why teams in the NFL are mentioning his name.
I agree.
He makes a good salary in Northwestern. Like you said, I had to do some research. That $5 million price tag is well worth it, probably because he's getting results, like you said.
He's getting results.
Northwestern. I'm happy for the state schools when they win.
I am too, man.
Win.
I think it's a huge win, and I think what he and our good buddy Chris Collins are doing with the basketball program, they've been pretty successful in the early parts of the season. It's just good to see them competing in the Big Ten, and I think it's really good for the Chicago area. So we'll see what Fitz will do.
You know something else? I drove past that new building that they have down there.
It's sweet, ain't it?
Woo!
Yeah.
But they put the money up.
I agree. I think Fitz is going to be the king of Evanston. I agree. And I think our buddy Chris Collins could be the prince of Evanston. If he keeps doing what he's doing with the basketball program. Just really good to see. I was so happy for him.
Exactly. And I'm not trying to say I want Fitz to leave. I'm not saying that. He does a great job down there.
So Ohio State comes out and beats the crap out of Clemson after Dabo Sweeney and me said they didn't deserve to beat it. They came out and just put a whooping on Clemson. Alabama destroys Notre Dame in the other semifinal game. So we're going to have an Alabama-Clemson in the championship game next Monday night, 7 o'clock Chicago time. They're kicking off down there in Miami at the Hard Rock Cafe Stadium. Who you got between Alabama and Ohio State in the national
You're going to listen to your big cousin for once. I told you on the show, I don't care whether they had 6 wins, 5 wins. I said, man, they were going to get in because who they are. Did they deserve with 6 wins? I don't know, but we know they have some players on their team now. That Justin Fields, Sherman, hey, they got a good team. But with that being said, I called my man Rodale Davis. I was watching the game, Jay. It was in the first quarter. Clemson jump out, take a lead, whatever. It's 14-14. I called Rodale up. I said, hey, Ro, it's just getting started, baby. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I said, I'm taking the Ohio State. So, you know, I like to bet push-ups. I said, Ro, you want to bet 15 push-ups? Matter of fact, let's make it 50. Yeah. Bet. I come back, Jay. I sit down. Your cousin made a nice meal. I come back. We up 35-14. Enough said. I'm taking the Ohio State University in this championship game. I know who you taking.
You know, I'm actually not taking either one because I actually cannot call it. I think Ohio State really impressed me with what they did against Clemson. The way they beat them, I was like, man, they could probably play with Alabama. I know Maya has always said Ohio State is an SEC team that plays in the Big Ten. I think they definitely had a talent to match up with Alabama. I think it's going to be a good game. You know, I'm not particularly fond of either team. You know, I'm not a fan of either team. I tend to pull against them. But, you know, when you got 2 teams that you're pulling against, you can kind of just sit back and watch and see which team wins. So I don't have a rooting interest in this game, but I think it is going to be an excellent championship game.
Let me say this. When you mentioned Dabo a little bit early, right? I understood what Dabo was saying because when I was watching the game, Clemson had played like 10, 11 games, right? Mm-hmm. The Ohio State University, you coming in off of 6 games, Jay? 7? So I thought their bodies looked fresher. They looked faster. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing where I kind of agree with Dabo with from the amount of games. Were they good enough if they had played the same amount of games? I'm going to say yes, but we'd never know. But if you watched how their team speed looked during that game, speed don't lie. And that speed did not lie. So we'll see, but it's hard to go against Nick Saban, but I got to go with the Ohio State University.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. A bit of news also we need to share. Earlier today, we got word today. Our good friend, Mark Montgomery, your good buddy, Monty. Monty was a guest on our show just a few weeks back. He was the head basketball coach at Northern Illinois. This morning, they decided to go in another direction and relieved him of his duties as a head coach at Northern Illinois. Of course, we don't know all the details that go into that. And, you know, just like Coach Will was saying when he was on earlier, you know, people in you guys' line of work, they change coaches out all the time for a lot of different reasons, not necessarily their coaching ability, but it could be money reasons, it could be political reasons, a whole bunch of different reasons. But we did want to pass that information along that Mark is no longer at Northern Illinois University, and I hope he gets a job real soon. I think he's a quality guy and a good coach.
He is. The one thing about Monty is that he's a quality guy. He's a class act. And the one thing I can honestly say about him, he has the student-first approach, and he cares about his team. He cared about his team. He's a good coach, too. So I'm not going to say, like they said, oftentimes he won't be able to get another job. Why not? He's a good coach. Hopefully somebody will hire him. But a shout out to Monty and his family. I wish them the best. And he did a nice job. And like Will said, sometimes, Jay, you get caught up doing something. But he did a good job. He's a quality person. And I know he loved the kids that he coached.
Yeah, I agree. And we wish Coach Montgomery the best of luck here going forward. Last 10 minutes of the show here, we're going to talk some hockey. And Maya is going to join us. She's got her new background in the Blackhawks. Well, their season is scheduled to start January 13th, and Maya, who the hell is playing? Because everybody is hurt.
You know, it isn't just that.
Break it down, Maya. Let's hear. I'm not gonna argue with you. I want to hear.
Okay,
it.
so what's so sad about this is I was actually looking forward to hockey coming back. Besides the fact that I am clamoring for baseball, so I'm excited. But I'm like, okay, because the way the season ended last year, the Blackhawks had such a good momentum. The first thing I felt where they made a wrong turn was not bringing back Crawford. That was the first thing, because technically they didn't have a goalie. This is the first time in a long time that the Blackhawks have been in a position where you can't say the heir apparent is ready to go and in place. This is that first season where it's not the case. I mean, we can go back to where it was like Hobby Bulin and Yanti. It was just a whole list. That's the first thing. And Corey Crawford, to me, played his ass off and deserved to be brought back. I just thought, really? We're not bringing him back because of what? That was the first sign something wasn't right. Then we started seeing the injuries come out. And this comes down to that question about, you've got Taze, Kane. I don't care if Seabrook ain't there or not. Real talk, because he's been MIA for like 3 seasons. He got paid dollars. And after he got that big contract, honestly, he has never played at that level where he has not been healthy. So it doesn't matter if he's back or not. So everything falls upon the fact of Taze, Kane, you got Doc, but that's not enough. And look at all the other injuries, which pretty much means the spiral continues.
So let's go down the list of injuries. So unfortunately, Kirby Doc was playing in a tournament in Europe a couple weeks ago and broke his wrist. So he's had surgery. He's pretty much done for the season. Alex Nylander, who they were bringing back, he's a young kid. He's only 22. He's a former first-round draft pick. Didn't really do much in his first full season with the Hawks last year, but they felt they could still build upon him. He's out for the season. Then last week we get word our captain, Jonathan Taves, he's been suffering from chronic fatigue and something. They can't even diagnose what this is.
COVID.
He's out indefinitely, they said. So we don't know when he's coming back, if he's coming back at all. Then we find out today, Zach Smith, who they just kind of re-signed.
Yes.
Literally 2 days ago, they released him and put him on waivers. So he's gone. And then Brent Seabrook is also not there. He was supposed to be coming back after having like 3 surgeries on every part of his body.
Look, he ain't been there for 3 years. Let's just call that what that is.
I hear you, but now he's, they were saying he was skating. We were looking forward to now he's not coming back. We don't have a goaltender. So the goaltender job, Lance, we can throw some pads on you and put you in the goalie fight. Subban played all of 17 seconds last year.
Didn't give him a chance. And you know what? That's unfortunate that they didn't.
You said that last year, Mike. You did say that.
And I would feel very confident with Subban, but now his brother PK Subban, him and Lindsey Vonn then broke up. So that news came out yesterday. So I don't know where his head is. He may be having to counsel his brother, for Christ's sake.
He'd be
the Blackhawks right now have turned into a complete.
Look, I'm gonna tell you something. Breaking up with Lindsey Vonn might be the best thing for PK. You know why? Because in hockey, you can kick some ass. You get to fight with people. So you know what? He's gonna have a lot of pent up energy. He's gonna be checking people all night. Watch. People will be like, PK seems so angry. Is it the black movement thing? I don't know. PK gonna be checking people. Watch.
Y'all know what though? I had to say this real quick. Your injury list sounds like my team's at Chicago State.
I mean, this is bad though, and to be honest, and it was like Doc was he had a coming out year last year. Like he played well. This was that season you really expected for these players. Right. Remember the conversation, not last season, but the season before, was these young players just needed ice time. Remember that was the thing. They got it, and now here we are with injuries, no depth, and this is exactly why I had an issue with not having more veteran players, using the formula that you used when you were winning your Stanley Cups. You didn't win because you were young. You win because you had a core that was phenomenal and young, but what you put around them. Then they went to reverse. But yet, who still has a job?
Stan Bowman.
He
got a promotion. Let's be honest. He didn't just keep his job as general manager. He got a promotion to CEO. So I don't know what is going on with the Blackhawks organization. They've had a lot of changes. There's something going on there behind the scenes, and we just don't.
But Jay, you're the big hockey guy.
I am.
what's going on behind the scenes?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm listening. It doesn't sound right.
Look, you can't help injuries. You can't.
Right.
Exactly.
That's out of your control. But I'll be honest, they really didn't do anything in the off season. They didn't do a damn thing in the off season, which makes me wonder if they're subscribing to the Cub theory. Like I said, is this a rebuild or is this going to be a bust? And this is feeling more and more like a bust here. I'm going to tell you what doesn't help you. Isn't their first game against the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Yes, the defending champions.
So you get to get handled coming out the door because Tampa Bay is good. Not a good look.
And there's no preseason. So you literally, the first game next Wednesday is the first game for everybody. So
you know what? That might help. Nobody had a preseason. Y'all, them first games, they always shaky. Not seriously.
Okay, so here's what's going to be interesting about this whole thing, to see what Jeremy Colleton does. Because you know what? Last year he had sort of a squad, but now he'll be challenged to see if the great communicator, let's see how he's going to talk this up. Because you don't have a squad. You really don't.
You really have to go into your bag of tricks now.
Yes.
Well, okay. He might have to suit up because he's young enough.
He really might. I'm just very concerned with the team. And, next week we were planning on talking a lot of hockey because we were like, oh, this will be perfect.
Right.
The season starts on Wednesday. We can call up our good buddy Jamal Mayers.
I was just going to say this.
So,
really.
And now I'm like,
you should call back and have Jamal on the show. I was just thinking that.
So we're actually efforting through Lance's effort and our former guest, Cameron Smith. We're efforting to get Anson Carter to come on our show from the NHL Network. Anson is African-American analyst, played in the league for a number of years. And I met Anson down in Miami a couple of years ago. So we're going to try to get Anson to come on the show and get kind of a national perspective on what he thinks of the Blackhawks. And we also got our good buddy, Mr. Powers from the Sun-Times, who I've formed a relationship with. He said he can jump on our show at any time.
Don't forget Evan Moore is a hockey guy.
And we got Evan Moore too, who's got a book. Evan is a big hockey guy.
I did not know that.
Big. That's how Evan and I met.
He has
two brothers who talk about hockey.
He has his daughter skating. I love it.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And Evan's written a book about hockey, and it's coming out in later 2021. So we're definitely going to have Evan on the show to talk about it too. So we're going to have a little bit more hockey talk here going forward as it leads us into baseball. We can't get here fast enough.
Well, I've already decided, I am notorious for having a side team.
Yes.
So I already had been eyeballing the Seattle Kraken. So I think I might have to push up on the Seattle Kraken.
But they don't even play until 2021, man. You can't have a side team this year.
Hey, man, they have the sweet nicknames out there.
Man, if they have no idea the marketing they have sitting in their lap. They have no idea.
Man, if they don't, now they know.
It's owning Kraken. Oh my God, they have no idea how good this could be.
And the Seattle Kraken. And they actually are the first NHL team. They've hired the first African-American play-by-play
announcer. Yes.
The announcer. He's going to be doing all their games. His name is Evan Fitzhugh. He's originally a brother from Detroit, but he got that job. He and I talk all the time. He's going to come on the show too. So I told him, I'm definitely going to have him on the show when Seattle plays, which will be in the fall of 2021. So he's going to jump on, and he's going to I told him when Blackhawks play in Seattle, wife and I make a road trip out there. We love the Seattle area, and we're going to meet up with him when we get out there in Seattle. So we got big stuff coming in 2021 for the What's Up Cuz show. We've got a lot more people, guests lined up. We've got an opening that Ivan is going to have ready for us next week. We'll have a new show opening, and you're going to see a lot more advertisements coming in with us and just a lot more topics to cover as, we continue to try to get through this COVID thing, but continue to also try to grow our show and grow our fan base. And, Lance, we didn't really get a chance to say thank you enough to our fans in 2020, that last show. So why don't you end this episode and say just thank you to everyone who's supported this show in our first 6 months on the air here.
You know what? Please don't get me fired up. But, we're thankful for everybody that watched the What's Up Show podcast with my cousin, JP, Jason Palmer, with my little sister, Maya Akai, who I love getting into arguments with. I gave you a good show tonight, Maya. I didn't even argue with you today.
No, because you was too busy trying to argue with Will. That's why. You was trying to pick on him today. You was picking on Will today. You weren't thinking about me.
Look, Tavares Hardy from Northwestern said, and I quote him, he was waiting for you to jump on the screen and you didn't jump on.
No, I didn't. I didn't take. I wasn't gonna take the bait, but by the way, Iowa did handle that business.
So, all the fans, thanks for watching us. We have great shows coming up. My cousin actually woke up. I'm glad Will woke him up. I know. Come on this show about to sleep. Staring to me like that.
So special announcement next week, because the college football championship game is starting at 7, we're going to come on just a half hour earlier. We're going to go from 5:30. We're going to take you all the way up until kickoff at 7 o'clock. So we're doing a 90-minute show next week. Remember that 90-minute show next week. Then after that is the Martin Luther King holiday. I don't know if we're having a show or if we're going to honor Dr. King by not having a show. That's something we've got to figure out. But remember, the King holiday is also a big NBA game day. So we may have a show on the King holiday. We may pay reverence to Dr. King by not having a show. We'll kind of see. We'll kind of go from there. But for our super producer, Maya Kai, my cousin, my little co-host, Lance Irvin, I'm Jason.
Lance C. Irvin.
Lance C. Irvin.
You off your game tonight. I'm tired of carrying you.
Here we go. We'll see y'all next week. Peace out.
Maya, stop shaking your head, Maya. I'm on you next week, Maya.
Nope.
I gave you a 2-week break.